What is going on? I got asked kind of a cool question. I think it's a pretty good topic for discussion. I am a big fan of the reverse hyper. I know there's been a couple things, like a couple videos out recently. Like I watched the Chris Duffin, Brian Carroll one about how they were kind of critiquing it and saying there's a pretty big learning curve and stuff like that. I just don't think it's as drastic as it's kind of, I don't know. I've heard that argument before, and I really don't think it's that bad. There definitely is a learning curve. You got to learn how to get set up the right way. You got to learn how to actually traction your spine when you're on there. You have to learn how to move your chin and protract and retract your cervical spine in the right timing and everything like that. You have to make sure you're abducting the entire time. At the hip, and there are little cues and stuff like that, but it doesn't take a significant time away from actual training time. So that really the question I was asked is how do I utilize the reverse hyper, and what's kind of a suggestion for loading for it that kind of applies to everybody as opposed to just like sets and reps and stuff like that. So a way to kind of regulate your own kind of experience with the reverse hyper. Well, first off, I bought mine a couple of years ago. I broke my L3 playing football. I've got scoliosis. My hips are uneven. I broke my L3 again doing rack pulls in the same spot. I'm a disaster. So my body is a nightmare. So I got it. I was just having a lot of intense pain and just right above my hips. There was like my QL kind of area. Just lots of stiffness and stuff. It felt just like a rock, like someone had just injected cement right around my SI joint and everything. And I did a lot of research, and that was something that kept popping up, was just a reverse hyper extensions on a reverse hyper. So initially, I remember when I first got it, my back was really, really flared up, really, really messed up. So I put a 10-pound plate on each side and couldn't do 10 without just excruciating pain. So I just kind of started there and just slowly started working it out. Got up to where I could do about 50 reps with 90 pounds on there, so a 45 on each side. And I typically try to do at least that as a minimum every single day. So it's just a great, when you don't have a ton of weight on there, it's a great tractioning, it's a great stretching tool, it's a good postural reinforcement tool. It's a really good overall, just like a kind of complete, recuperative recovery kind of tool to use. As far as actual loading for helping with squatting and deadlifting kind of directly, I think a really good rule of thumb, and I didn't make this up, I totally stole this from somebody smarter than me, is to load the reverse hyper twice a week. I'm assuming you're squatting at least twice a week. So pick 2 of those squat workouts. So even if you're doing more than that, that's fine. But let's just say you pick 2 of your squat workouts. You get done all your squatting, all your deadlifting, whatever you're doing for that day, and you're moving on to your assistance work. Now, if you're doing your reverse hyper first, the total volume done on the hyper should be about 4 times the amount of volume that you did while squatting. At least squatting, if you can handle the squat and deadlift volume combined, you should. I really think you should do that. But so say you do 10,000 pounds of squatting. Well, that means you're going to do 40,000 pounds of reverse hyper. That's exactly what that means. So I know it sounds like a lot. Start racking up the weight. I mean, when I was really kind of hammering that kind of loading parameter and really getting after it. I mean, I had an over 800 pound deadlift, and I could use a reverse hyper for 500 plus pounds for sets of 20 to 25, just with really, multiple sets of that with really no real issue. And it's just because, you're handling all that volume of just kind of compressive force with squatting, and then just, the torque and everything else that deadlifting does just destroy your hips and spine and everything else. You just really need to do a significant amount of volume in the other direction, kind of working that stuff out. Now, I don't think you need to do it as much if you are actively doing any kind of tractioning, any kind of active, just release stuff on your back. Like if you are taking care of yourself, this is just kind of a general recommendation for all you dumb meatheads that don't stretch or do mobility work. But yeah, so again, just twice a week, whenever you get done with your squat and deadlift or whatever those prescribed sets and reps are with their prescribed intensity that you're using, shooting for 4 times the amount of volume on at least the squats, ideally the squats and the deadlifts. And then, you can mess around with a little bit based on just, the kind of amount of time you're investing in doing the other stuff. But that's a really good starting point. So, I mean, that leaves it open for a lot of stuff. You can do tons and tons of reps with a lighter weight. You can do fewer reps and sets with a heavier weight. It's totally up to you, but that's just a really good just kind of starting point on how to utilize the reverse hyper so that it actually helps you out. So hopefully that answered your question. Again, I didn't make this shit up. I stole it from other people, but it's just it's definitely what's helped me out in the past, and I'm pretty sure it's the only reason I'm still not only upright but also able to lift. So that's kind of important information to me anyway.